Welcome to Zoo Tours, the channel that lets you visit the zoo from the comfort of your own home. And if you're new and that sounds pretty good to you, then please hit those like, sub, and bell buttons to officially join the tour group. So, there's this crazy belief in the super exclusive online zoo community that the Georgia Aquarium, America's largest aquarium, is only worth a visit to see their world-famous Ocean Voyager exhibit, and they'd be nothing without it. Yeah, no. No. I mean, it's their opinion, but it's wrong. Every single gallery, in some way, sets the Georgia Aquarium apart from every other aquarium around the world, and I think I'll make my point with the help of the Tropical Diver. The Tropical Diver was an opening day attraction back in 2005. It was designed to be a relaxing stroll through a colorful living museum. Its true purpose, though, is to show off the ocean's variety of coral reefs that you can go and explore yourself. This episode will show you one of the world's largest living aquarium reefs. You'll discover ways that this place preserves coral, and this will mark the first time we've ever gone behind the scenes. Before we get started, let's get those comments rolling with this episode's question of the week. What is your favorite aquatic exhibit and why? As eccentric as the Georgia Aquarium is, it's not exactly known for their themes. So I was really pleased to find that they turned this more generic tank into the Volcanic Island, which is entirely framed with leaking molten rock. It's a fun and unique idea and is actually based on a fringing reef in the South Pacific. In other words, a reef that grows close to the shore. It's home to emperor angels, stars and stripes puffer, scrawled filefish, and the Moorish idol, or as I call it, the Willem Dafoe fish. But the recent changes did not stop here. The creative designers converted the space for a second flat wall tank into a long, multi-exhibited artificial reef. And I'm not pointing out that it's fake or anything. Artificial reefs are an actual thing. They're man-made structures usually placed in bare spots on the sea floor to kind of spruce up the area, give fish a place to refuge, or even prevent coastal erosion. This reef's theme is a sunken submarine. They kept the nosy lionfish, but added green morays. I said green morays. Zebra morays, fit with blunt teeth that it uses to crush crustaceans, as opposed to the spotted moray, lined with several rows of sharp chompers, and even an extra pair of jaws to make sure that no prey can escape. So that's a pretty scary thought. At least you can always count on these gelatinous bells to ease the mind. White spotted jellies from the waters down under, complemented by the Pacific sea nettles. We discussed in an earlier episode that they're far more aware of their surroundings than their reputation makes them out to be. And while it isn't wrong to say that they rely on the current to get around, jellies are still in full control of their own movements. But that doesn't mean they're not influenced by the flow of the ocean. In fact, most jellyfish aquariums have a built-in current to prevent the animals from ever touching the tank walls, even if they have tentacles that can grow as long as 15 feet. So moving gracefully is really optional. One of them was even staying completely still and made it really easy to see why a sea turtle would mistake a plastic bag for a sea nettle. Every exhibit attraction, big, small, good or bad, has its peak, its it factor. Some come with its own symphony. The Pacific Barrier Reef. Very few public aquariums maintain a reef full of living coral of more than a few hundred gallons, 49 feet long, 47 feet wide, 18 feet deep, and over 160,000 gallons. It's no surprise this coral kingdom is one of the largest living reefs in any aquarium. As the orchestra draws to a thunderous close, the final notes are synchronized with the exhibit's very own crescendo. Every 2 minutes, 6,000 gallons are dumped into the pool to create a surge. This feature adds to the thrill and nature of the tank but it has a greater purpose, which can only be seen if you sign up for the Behind the Seas tour, like I did. Above the surface, the waves flow over the reef wall, fills and filters another flooded crater. During the tour, we learned about aquaculture. Most, if not all, aquariums collect animals from the wild, whenever possible. The Georgia Aquarium breeds their own reef fishes and propagates and cultivates coral right here. The coral is then transplanted onto the reef wall. The Behind the Seas tour not only taught us how important coral is to the ecosystem, but we got to go right up to the surface of one of the world's largest tanks, get a front row view of a whale shark feeding, and watch the tropical diver dump tank make some waves. Regardless of its grand stature, remember, this gallery is kind of for the little guys. Tropical Diver winds down with a few more reserve tanks with some flashy fish. Flamboyant Cuttlefish, flashy and brave. If they don't like someone coming around their parts, they'll display their array of pinks, purples, and yellows as a warning that they are toxic and not the relationship kind. In this miniature sea of coral, you can just barely make out the patterns of the Banggai cardinalfish. And if it isn't a giant reef tank that'll get the kids excited, then it will for sure be a small tank with clown anemone fish and their anemone friends. The sea anemone's wavy appendages are lethal. They can stun, trap, and help them eat any passing fish. The clownfish is an exception. They're immune to these stings thanks to an external layer of mucus. Whenever you see these clowns, there's a pretty good chance that splendid or spotted garden eels are close by. And last but not least, the Shipwreck Tank combines the educational value of the giant Pacific Reef and the submarine tanks. The signs around it mention the aquarium's efforts to restoring damaged reefs in the wild, and it doesn't matter if they're artificial or not. Healthy coral is always a good indicator of a healthy ecosystem. Depending on which way you go around, Tropical Diver is either a fitting beginning or a fitting end to one of the world's greatest aquariums. And if that didn't help prove my point earlier, I can think of at least 4 more reasons why the critics are wrong. Comment below whether you agree or not. The next time we are in America's grandest aquarium, this group will get a double featured tour of their River Scout and its multi-storied exhibits and learn about science, technology, engineering, and math at the Aquanaut Adventure. So while you're on your way out, be sure to tip your tour guide with a subscription. See if you can answer this episode's trivia question. And thank you for joining me on this tropical excursion.